Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back everyone. We are learning the basics of building construction and today we are starting our third module on floors. So today we are going to discuss ground floors in particular. In the next lecture we are going to study upper floors. So today we are going to concentrate on the different types of flooring materials that are applicable in the ground floor. But before we get to it, let's learn a little bit about what do we mean by floors. Now floors are a level surface that is capable of bearing the weight of a building occupants, furniture, equipment and internal partitions within a structure. Now the floor level which is immediately above the ground surface is known as the ground floor. In cases where the building has a basement, the floor level is known as a basement floor, and the floors of other stories which are situated above the ground level are known as upper floors. Some functional requirements of the floors include that it provides strength and stability in a building structure. It provides resistance to weather and ground moisture, especially if we are dealing with the basement or the ground floor. It provides fire safety such that it resists the spread and passage of fire, and it provides stable support for the occupants to evacuate. It provides a thermal as well as sound insulation, which is extremely essential if you are looking at multi-story buildings. Before we select flooring material, we have to consider various parameters before we go about making that choice. Some of the factors that affect flooring material include the initial cost. The cost of the material should correspond to the type of the building and its likely use. So if you are dealing with a building which is a public building, has a lot of foot traffic, it's busy building, it requires materials which have to be very durable, that can last for a long time and also can resist higher foot traffic, then in that case we might go for a more expensive material for flooring as opposed to a simple residential building where not much usage is expected. Based on different context, also depending upon the scale in which we are building, the overall budget that is being selected, we have to pick a material which fits in the overall cost selection criteria. The appearance is also another very important factor because the flooring will have a huge impact on the interior design of the space, the overall color scheme, the look that we are going for in the interior space. Several other aspects with respect to aesthetics would be influenced by the flooring. Now the floor cover should have a pleasing appearance, no doubt. It should give the desired color effect and also maintain the architectural beauty. So that also is a prime factor in selecting the flooring material. Cleanliness is another very important aspect. It is always important to select materials which can be easily cleaned, which does not absorb moisture, oil or grease. Now this is more important when we are dealing with spaces which is wet space or requires waterproofing. Also if we are dealing with spaces like the kitchen area where there's a lot of oil or grease we are going to deal with, it should be a material which can be easily cleaned off. It can be maintained over a long period of time. We also want to ensure that while we are cleaning it, no damage occurs to it. So subsequently cleaning it multiple times shouldn't reduce its pleasing appearance over time. So that has to be one of the important parameters to determine the type of flooring material that we are selecting. Durability is also an important aspect. Material should be resistant to wear and tear, weather and temperature changes. It should have an overall long life. Damp resistance, especially if you are dealing with ground floor or basement floors, the material should be such that it does not absorb moisture very easily and it has a resistance against dampness which is caused due to the presence of course, the groundwater. So that is also something we need to keep in mind. Sound insulation is in some cases, if you are dealing with an intermediate floor and we are providing flooring material for an intermediate floor between two stories, Sound insulation might be an important criteria because if there is movement, walking or shifting of materials, shifting of furniture being done on the upper floor, it shouldn't impact the residents of the lower floor. So this is not just applicable when we are dealing with stories within a single residence. If you are dealing with apartments, it would be even more applicable. So sound insulation is an important criteria in that aspect. Thermal insulation is also an added advantage. If the flooring offers good thermal insulation, it is preferred. Fire resistance is very important, especially for multi-storied buildings. It should be such that the material doesn't become a carrier of the fire. It doesn't help spread the fire. If it creates a barrier for smooth transition or movement of the fire through the structure, it is easier for us to evacuate the building in case of an adverse emergency. The smoothness of the material should be such that it forms an even surface, because we don't want a material which actually collects debris over time. So if there are unevenness in the overall surface, it will collect dust and debris over time, and it will become very difficult for us to clean it, especially the cracks and crevices within the structure over time, which may lead to the change in the overall appearance as well of the material. However, having said that, it is also not advisable to go for very smooth surfaces as flooring in case of wet areas. So we don't want very slippery material to be used in washrooms or areas where we can expect rainwater or any other form of water to fall on the floor. In that case, we might want to restrict the amount of smoothness our flooring material has. So it depends, of course, on the usage of the room that we are selecting the flooring for. The material most definitely has to be hard, so that we can easily move furniture or equipment on top of it. It shouldn't be the case that indentation marks or imprints easily form on the flooring material if we move furniture and anything heavy. Now, especially if you are dealing with industrial buildings where the flooring is expected to receive a lot of heavy equipment or vibrations, the flooring material will have to be selected accordingly. In some cases, some special flooring materials will have to be selected if you are dealing with structures which receive a lot of vibrations, not necessarily just factories. Let's say we have indoor stadiums where games are played. It's possible that that vibration would get transmitted into the galleries in which the spectators are sitting. So we want to isolate the flooring from the overall structural members with the help of some gap, and the material should be such that doesn't transmit those vibrations very easily. Also, it is hard enough to constantly go through these changes and impacts over the use of the building. The maintenance also should be low in case of materials. We do not want a particular material which constantly requires upkeep. If we are going for a longer span of usage for the building, we definitely want to be able to easily repair it as well with minimum expenditure. So it shouldn't be that if there is a minor crack or some form of a damage in some part of the flooring, it shouldn't be that we'd have to do away with the entire flooring, redo the entire thing altogether. We would want to be able to do spot repairs as well. So we might want to select such materials which can be easily isolated and the damage can be repaired in a small scale. So those were some of the factors that we have to keep in mind when we are dealing with selection of the flooring material. Let's now dive into seeing what are the factors we need to consider while making ground floors. Now, the ground floor is obviously different from the upper floors. There are some additional considerations that have to be made when constructing the ground floor. First of all, compacted earth fill is needed. Here, if we see the cross section of the ground floor, we'll see that the first part is the compacted earth fill, which is the layer placed just above the existing ground level, and it comprises natural earth material which is compacted properly in a level surface above which the rest of the parts of the flooring would come up. The next part would be some form of a hard core, which is a layer which is placed just above the cold ground made up of infill materials. Now, this could be crushed or graded bricks, gravel, stone or lean concrete. Now, they have to be hard and durable, and it should be such that it doesn't absorb moisture. They should be evenly spread, and they should provide a stable bed on which we can create the concrete slab. It is also very important to introduce some form of damp proofing. Now, the damp proofing member will be an impermeable barrier, which is such that it will prevent the entry of moisture through capillary action from the ground upwards into the structure. Now, if this is not done well, it is possible that our internal floor finish, even the wall finish, if there are electrical or other conduits in the wall structure, that will also be impacted significantly if this DPC is not provided. So, it is very essential to create some amount of waterproofing at this level itself, so that the water does not rise through the ground. Now, we will study DPC in further detail in a separate module, but of course, it is important for you to know that some amount of DPC or damp proofing membrane will be introduced into the ground floor. The materials used for the same will be discussed in a later module. Then comes the floor base, which is the next layer. Here a stable and leveled surface is created with the help of cement concrete, over which the floor finish is laid. So, eventually floor finish is what we are going to be able to see, but underneath all of it there are several other components which are together making the ground floor. Finally, the floor finish, which is also the floor covering. Now, we can use different types of floor finishes, which we are going to take a look at in this lecture. So, that will form the final finishing layer. Now, one should note that a layer of insulation may also be introduced below the floor finish. In certain cases, if we are dealing with very cold climatic conditions, it is possible for us to create some amount of a gap between the floor finish and the floor base, and we may introduce some amount of insulation material in that gap. So, say for instance, we are creating a wooden floor finish, and this wooden floor finish is actually raised above this concrete floor base with the help of certain battens, creating a gap, and in this gap we have introduced some type of insulating material to prevent the rise of cold from the ground. Especially if you are dealing with a cold space, the amount of temperature lowering that will happen in the space because of this ground flow, this connection between the direct ground, can be prevented by introducing this insulation layer. Now, let us dive into the different materials that we can use for our floor finish. Now, there are many common options available in the market. Let us take a look at all of them one at a time. If you see the list, starting with the most traditional materials, mud and muram can be used for our floor covering or floor finish. We can also go for bricks, flagstones. Definitely a simple concrete for floor finish is possible. We can have terrazzo and mosaic floor finish. Tiles are a very popular choice these days. Marble or other stone, granolithic finish, definitely wooden timber. We were just talking about how we can use wooden floor finish. Asphalt, rubber, linoleum, cork are other popular choices. Definitely we can use glass in some commercial and other properties. Plastic, PVC or laminate finishes are also a popular choice in certain contexts. We will see how these various types are made and where they can find applicability. So, let us first start with the mud and muram flooring. Now, mud and muram flooring is commonly used in low cost housing, and it is especially popular in rural areas. Let us first take a look at mud flooring. Now, this is preferable as it is hard, impervious and easy to construct and maintain, as well as being low cost and has very good thermal insulation properties. We all know that in rural areas, mud houses with mud flooring are really cold even in the summer season. So, it is very good heat insulation properties. The process of construction includes that we first start with a 25 centimeter thick layer of moist earth, and we evenly spread it on a prepared bed. The earth is rammed to a compacted thickness of 15 centimeters. A small quantity of chopped straw is mixed in selected moist earth. Of course, we do this to prevent any cracks to form after drying. And then a layer of cow dung which is mixed with earth or cement cow dung may be applied as a form of paint coating to give it a final finish. If you are dealing with muram flooring, muram is a form of disintegrated rock with binding material. It is very similar to mud flooring. The process is slightly different. Here we have 15 centimeter thick layer of muram which is laid over a prepared subgrade. Over this 2.5 centimeter thick layer of powdered muram is spread and then water is sprinkled over it. The surface is well rammed and saturated with 6 mm thin film of water. Now then after this we will trample this entire thing with the help of feet. The workmen are going to stamp it around and we continue this process until the cream of muram rises to the top. So, we will see a certain amount of separation between the solid material and the water which has been used to mix it. So, like a foam or froth, a layer will form on the top. That is when we can stop trampling this layer. Now, the surface is leveled and it is kept in that state for a day and then rammed with wooden thapis for about 3 days. So, this stamping with the wooden thapis is going to help us create a very dry, hard surface. Now, this surface is finally going to be smeared with cow dung paste and that will be rammed for about 2 days, and a coating of mud cow dung mix or cement cow dung mix will be finished up on the top. Now, there are several advantages to using mud and muram flooring. This is very cheap, smooth, hard, and it provides a fairly impervious surface. So, it is a good choice for low cost constructions. It is easy to construct, locally available unskilled or semi-skilled laborer can apply this. They have a long life if maintained properly, of course, and they are able to provide comfortable temperature through all seasons. So, for climatologically comfortable houses, it is a good choice. The disadvantage is that we have to frequently wash it with cement cow dung mix once or twice in a week. So, that is a recurring process that we constantly have to apply in the structure to maintain its longevity over time. The next type of floor finish is brick flooring. This is commonly used in places where the cost of construction is to be kept low and good bricks are very easily available. Now, this is specially suited for the use in warehouses, stores, godowns, garages. It is possible we may opt for this. It is also a popular choice in certain semi-outdoor areas as well. Now, well burnt bricks of good color and uniform shapes are used, and the bricks are laid in different patterns. We could either put it flat, we can have a herringbone pattern to it, right angles, or even other good looking patterns. Now, when we were studying masonry, we had seen various types of patterns which we can use in arranging our bricks. So, the ones which are applicable at the flooring level were towards the fag end of the lecture. So, that should give you an idea about the different patterns that we can use for brick flooring. Now, how do we actually construct the brick flooring? There are two methods we can adopt. The first one is we start off by creating a subgrade which is compacted properly at the desired level. A 7.5 centimeter thick layer of sand is spread over the subgrade, and then the course of brick is laid flat in a mortar to form the base. The brick flooring is laid in a desired pattern over the base course with a 12 mm thick cement or lime mortar bed, and the work is then cured or rested with water for 7 days. The second process that we can follow is we take a 10 to 15 centimeter thick layer of lean cement concrete in the ratio of 1:8:16, or we can also opt for cement lime concrete. This is laid over a prepared subgrade and this forms the base course, and the bricks are laid on edge or flat on 12 mm thick mortar bed in such a way that all joints are filled with mortar, and then the work is cured for 7 days. The advantages of using brick flooring is that they are sufficiently durable and hard. They are cheaper than cement, concrete, wooden or mosaic flooring. They are definitely non-slippery and they are easily repairable, because we can easily do spot repairs if 1 or 2 of our bricks are damaged. The disadvantage, however, is that it absorbs moisture and it causes dampness in the building. So, the normal wet cleaning process that we may want to adapt for other spaces won't be applicable in case of the brick flooring. The next type of floor finish is called the flagstone flooring. Now, flagstone is any laminated sandstone available in 2 cm to 4 cm thickness. These slab stones can be either 30 x 30, 45 x 45 or 60 x 60 centimeters. The rectangular ones are 45 x 60. Now, this type of work is also known as paving. Now, the stone slabs are laid on the concrete bed. So, we have a 10 to 15 centimeter concrete bed which forms the subgrade or the base layer. We may then add a mortar bed which is about 15 mm in thickness, above which the flagstones are suitably fixed. Now, this flagstones, in order to ensure that we stay in within a straight pattern, we can use battens at the side. The overall process is that the subsoil is compacted, and as I mentioned, a 10 to 15 centimeter thick layer of lime or lean cement concrete is creating the base course. The flagstones are then laid over a certain mortar bed, minimum 15 mm. We can go up to 20 to 25 mm thick layer of mortar bed. The laying work is started from 2 diagonally opposite corners and brought up from both the sides. So, we are starting from 2 ends meeting in the middle. A string is stretched between the 2 corner slabs laid first to correct the level. We want to do it exact in the right level. We do not want undulations on our floor. Now, other slabs are laid such that their tops touch the string, and if any particular slab falls lower, it is relaid by putting a little bit more stiff mortar underneath. Now, the mortar joints are raked out to a depth of 15 to 20 mm, and then flush pointing is done with 1:3 cement mortar. Now, the term pointing will be discussed further in detail in a subsequent module, where we are going to talk about the finishing of the building. So, the basic idea is a certain amount of mortar from the gaps between the flagstones will be scooped out in a particular shape to ensure that it is well stable and no excess mortar is actually bulging out, to maintain a flush surface. So, different ways or patterns in which we scoop out this mortar is going to give different names to the type of pointing. We will of course discuss this, as I mentioned, further in detail in a subsequent module. Now, proper slope overall has to be maintained to ensure that drainage happens on this flooring, and this overall process of construction is laid to rest for about 7 to 10 days before we continue the usage. There are several advantages to using flagstone flooring. They are hard, durable and resistant to wear and tear. They are easily repairable and easy to construct. In geographical locations where stone is locally available, it is a very economic option to go for, and it also provides aesthetically pleasing appearance, especially in gardens, front porches or walkways. The disadvantage is that it does not provide a pleasing appearance if you are going for a very internal space like an internal room. Not suitable for residential or high-end public buildings which receive a lot of foot traffic, where we want a much more flush, smooth or decorative floor finish. The next type of floor finish is concrete flooring. Now, this is commonly used for residential, commercial as well as industrial buildings. It is moderately cheap and it has a very good durability. The floor consists of 2 major components. One is the base concrete and the topping or the wearing surface. Now, the 2 components are constructed either monolithically, that is the topping is immediately laid on top of the base layer, or we can do it non-monolithically, that is construct them separately. Now, the monolithic layering provides a good bond between the 2 components, and it offers certain disadvantages of course, which is that the topping is damaged during subsequent operations, hairline cracks may develop if there is instability in the base course, and the work process is also going to be slower. The step 1 of creating is that we make the base or the sub base. First of all, the earth filling is in the plane is consolidated thoroughly to ensure no loose pockets are left. 10 to 15 centimeter thick layer of clean coarse sand is spread over the area. Then the sand layer is consolidated and dressed to a desired level or slope. After this, we will make the base concrete layer, where we can use lime concrete or cement concrete, and the thickness may also vary from 7.5 centimeters to 10 centimeters. The base concrete layer is deposited and thoroughly attempt to form a level surface. Then comes the topping. So, after the base case is hardened, the surface is thoroughly cleaned, a square or rectangle grid for panels is made. 4 mm thick glass strips or 5 mm thick plain asbestos strips are used as panels for preparing the grid. So, this allows us to have smaller areas within which we are going to do the topping. So, these will form a grid. Now, the surface of the base concrete is coated with a cement slurry to create a bonding layer between the base and the topping, and cement concrete mix at 1:2:4 is laid in the required thickness between the panels. Now, the concrete is spread evenly, and we use wooden floats to ensure that we have a level surface, and we keep doing that leveling until the cream of the mortar comes up, that is the froth comes up. Then the surface is smoothened and finished with steel trowels. Further troweling is done when the mix is stiffened. The surface is dusted with neat cement to form a smooth finish, and then the surface is left to cure for about 7 to 14 days. The advantages of this type of flooring is that it is non-absorbent, therefore it is useful for water storage, durable and commonly used in kitchens, bathrooms, other public buildings. Smooth and pleasing in appearance, it is economical and has the advantages of costlier types of flooring, and it possesses good wearing properties as well. It can be easily maintained and cleaned over the period of the duration of the lifespan of the building. The disadvantages of this type of flooring is that the defect cannot be very easily rectified. Proper attention has to be given while laying. So, if there is a small defect which has remained, it will be very difficult to do spot repair. Patchwork etc. cannot be done. The next type of flooring is called terrazzo flooring. Now, terrazzo is a specially prepared concrete surface containing cement, white or grey in color, and marble chips of different colors in the proportion of 1:1.25 or 1:2. This is a decorative in appearance, it has good wearing properties, and it is widely used in residential as well as public buildings. This is laid in a thin layer over concrete topping, and the flooring thickness may vary as per requirement. The marble chips may also vary in size between 3 to 6 mm. The colors may be mixed along with the white cement to give it a desired tint if there is a certain subtle hint of color we want in the overall terrazzo flooring. And this type of flooring unfortunately is slightly expensive as compared to the other, but of course it offers a certain aesthetic appearance to the space if that is the look we are going for in our internal design. So, how do we make a typical 40 mm thick terrazzo flooring? First is we create a base layer. A concrete base is made very similar to what we were dealing with in the previous examples. Now, this concrete base layer is cleaned of dirt, thoroughly wetted and smeared with cement slurry. Now, the area of the flooring is divided into suitable panels of predetermined size and shape, and we divide this by using strips which are of a height of 40 mm. Now, we can use different materials to make these strips. We can have copper, brass, aluminium or glass strips which are interspaced depending upon the size of panel we want for our terrazzo flooring. Now, the concrete of 1:2:4 is laid in alternate panels, leveled and finished to a rough surface, and when the surface is hardened, the terrazzo mix which contains the cement and the marble chips and the water is laid on this. Now, the surface is stamped and rolled so that at least 80% of the surface shows exposed marble chips, because that is the look we are going from. From the top we should actually be able to see the marble chips. So, that is how we will finish the upper surface. The surface is troweled and floated to ensure that about 18 to 20 hours of drying and curing then is done for 2 to 3 days. The surface is subjected to first grinding by machine of carborundum stones of coarse grade 60. Then we again use plenty of water, all the pores and holes are filled with cement grout. Again we go for certain amount of curing, then do the process of grinding again, but in this case we use the carborundum stones of a different grade, we use grade number 120. Again we repeat the process of cleaning and curing, then go for a third grinding process using stone of coarse grade of 320 number. Finally, we finish the surface with dilute oxalic acid solution and polish it until we get a shiny finish on top. So, as one can see that it is a very elaborate process to go through to get the specific aesthetic appearance of a terrazzo flooring, making this type slightly more expensive than the other options. Then comes the mosaic flooring. This is also made up of small pieces of broken glazed tiles of marble, which is arranged in different patterns with cement. Now, the pieces of tiles of marble are first cut into desired shapes and sizes. The concrete base is prepared. In the case cement concrete flooring, about 5 to 8 centimeter thick lime surki mortar is spread and leveled. Now, over this we have a 3 mm thick cementing material paste. This has 2 parts of slaked lime, 1 part powdered marble and 1 part pozzolana material. This is spread and we let it dry for about 4 hours. Then small pieces of broken tile or marble of different colors are arranged in definite patterns and hammered into the cementing layer. So, in this case we can go for a very chaotic pattern where there is no seeming order, or we can also actually design patterns to represent something. It depends upon the aesthetic look that one is going for and the skill of the laborer who is actually working on this. Small pieces of these tiles, once they are placed, we are going to roll this with a stone roller, sprinkling it with water until we get an even surface, and then the surface is of course left to dry for 1 day. Finally, we rub it with pumice stone to achieve a very smooth and polished finish, and we allow that to rest for about 2 weeks before we start using this space. The next type of floor finishing is a very popular choice today, that is tile flooring. As one knows, there are many types of tiles available in the market. One must have heard the term vitrified tile very commonly. So, other than that, there are also other tile options which are available in the market. The tile flooring is constructed using square, hexagonal or other shaped tiles which may be made up of clay, cement, concrete or terrazzo. Ceramics of course are becoming popular nowadays. Now, commonly used alternative to terrazzo flooring, and this is very much applicable in residential and public buildings. One must select the type of tile carefully when dealing with public buildings. If it receives a lot of foot traffic or there is heavier weight that is expected, higher weight of furniture is expected on the surfaces, it is better to go for tile flooring which is going to be able to resist that or wear and tear over the duration of the building's lifespan. Now, the process of construction is very similar to the flagged stone flooring that we had just studied, except that greater care is required in this case, especially if you are dealing with ceramic tiles which or vitrified tiles which can easily be damaged. During site construction, it is possible to damage the tiles if excessive force is used while fixing, or if not enough gap is provided between fixing adjacent tiles. So, in that case also there might be damage either immediately or through seasonal expansion and contraction of the building materials over time. The common types of tiles which we normally use are clay tiles, vitreous floor tiles and concrete tiles. The basic process is the concrete base layer is prepared and a 25 to 30 mm thick layer of lime mortar is spread to serve as the bedding. Now, the bedding mortar is allowed to harden for 12 to 24 hours and then a neat cement slurry is spread over this bedding. This is which is used for the laying of the tiles. The paste of cement is applied to the sides of the tiles before laying them flat on the bedding, and there is a specific way we apply the cement slurry on the underside of the tile before we fix it. It will of course depend upon the type of tile we are using, but good workmanship is very much required, otherwise it is possible that the tiles may become loose over time. The tiles are then gently pressed into the bedding mortar with the help of a wooden mallet to form a level surface. To maintain the level, we may also use references with the help of strings. Now, the tiles are left for a day and the joints between the adjacent tiles are cleaned if there is any excess loose moisture, because we want a very clean finish on top. And the gap is grouted with cement slurry and a thin coat of the same slurry is applied on the overall floor, so that in case there is any gap, that is covered. The floor is then cured for 7 days before we start use. An expensive option of flooring finish is the marble flooring. This is definitely a superior type of flooring, gives a far more pleasing appearance, but the cost of marble is usually very high unless it's locally available. Now, the flooring requires high maintenance because marble can get easily stained or dirty over time, especially if we are making metal furniture rest on the marble floor. It's possible that rust stains may actually damage our marble flooring over time. Now, size of the marble slabs to be used on the flooring depends on the pattern that we are adopting. If we go for a mixture of colors or patterns, we might want to select another alternating material along with our marble to create the pattern of our choice. The slabs for normal works are either square or rectangular in shape, and the thickness can also vary between 20 to 40 mm. Now, the cost of the marble will vary significantly depending upon the size, the thickness, as well as the shade of color or pattern that we have selected. The basic process is a subgrade of concrete or RCC floor slab is first prepared. After proper cleaning, a 20 mm thick bedding mortar, which may either be 1:4 cement sand mix or 1:1 mixture of putty, surki, coarse sand mix can be used. The marble slab is laid on top of this bedding mortar and wooden mallet is used to level it. The marble slab is then lifted up and placed aside. Fresh mortar is allowed to fill up the hollows that have been created by this marble slab in the bedding mortar. The mortar is allowed to slightly harden and then cement slurry is spread over it. The edges of the already laid slabs are smeared with the same cement slurry paste, and then the marble which was previously lifted is placed back in that position. Now, this is gently pushed with the wooden mallet to make the cement paste ooze out from the edges. That is cleaned off with a cloth and the area is cured for 7 days and then subjected to grinding and polishing. Now, depending upon the usage of the room, amount of water that this surface might be exposed to, we can determine how much polishing or grinding we want to do on the overall surface. That will determine the smoothness of the marble flooring. The granulithic flooring is a hard wearing surface which is generally preferred for industrial buildings. It is a variation of the cement concrete flooring where a finishing coat of granulithic concrete is provided. Now, the granulithic finish consists of a rich cement which is made with very hard and tough quality coarse aggregate such as granite, basalt, quartzite, etc., which is graded between 13 mm to 240 SI sieve. Now, the concrete mix proportion varies also. It can be 1:1:2 to 1:1:3 for heavy duty floors and between 1:2 to 1:3 for public buildings. Now, the thickness may vary between 25 mm to 35 mm for heavy duty floors, and if we are dealing with public buildings, we may opt for 13 to 20 mm thickness. Wooden or timber flooring are also popular if we are dealing with halls, auditoriums, especially if we are dealing with floors which require us to prevent the transmission of vibrations. So, for example, indoor playing spaces, dancing halls, where there will be a lot of foot traffic and that can actually transmit that through the structural members. In that case, we might go for a wooden flooring. It might help us prevent the transmission of those vibrations. So, this is found in residential buildings as well. If we are in a hilly region or a region where there is a lot of cold climate and we want to prevent the cold from affecting the internal spaces, we may also go for it if it is locally available and cheap. One of the major drawbacks is that it cannot prevent dampness in the flooring. So, DPC has to be introduced below the floors. We can have two types of options for timber floors. One is suspended floors and the other is solid type of timber floor. So, the first type, which is the suspended timber floor, is supported slightly above the ground level. So, the whole ground area below the floor is covered with 15 centimeter layer of cement concrete known as oversight concrete, and the hollow space between the flooring and the oversight concrete is kept dry and well ventilated. So, we may also provide air gaps at regular intervals along this plinth wall to ensure that it is well ventilated, and if any moisture has entered in this space, it can be easily dried over time. Now, steeper walls are not spaced more than 1.8 to 2 meters. So, this entire thing is basically raised above the ground and suspended, and this flooring, because it is disconnected from the ground level, will not instantly be affected by the dampness. How do we create these? A concrete bed is prepared and a steeper or dwarf walls are constructed on the base layer. Longitudinal timer membranes known as steeper plates are fixed on the top of the steeper walls. Floor joists are nailed to the wall plates at their ends and supported by intermediate walls called dwarf walls. DPC course has to be immediately laid to ensure that dampness does not rise, and then the floor finish is made up of boarding, which is supported on timber joists called bridging or floor joist. The other type of timber flooring we can go for is called the solid type flooring. Here this is fully supported on the ground. It is used in places where the problem of dampness is not very acute. Here wooden blocks are used, different sizes are available, different thicknesses are available, and these are placed in beautiful patterns. So, depending upon the pattern, if we select a patterned wooden solid flooring, it will be known as a parquet flooring. So, here we create a base concrete of 15 to 20 centimeter thickness, above which a layer of mastic asphalt is used as a damp proofing course. Then finally, the wooden block flooring is laid over it, and the pattern can of course be of our choice. Depending upon the type of pattern we have selected, the wooden blocks that we are using for this flooring will have to be prepared. The next type of flooring is called asphalt flooring. In this flooring type, it is preferred because it is dustless, elastic, durable, waterproof, acid proof and attractive in appearance. They are also very non-slippery and noiseless. Hence, it is very much applicable in factories, loading platforms, swimming pools, terrace floors, etc., or other places where a lot of foot traffic is expected. The asphalt flooring may be of the following types. We can have an asphalt mastic flooring, asphaltic tiles, we can have asphaltic mosaic flooring, or acid proof mastic flooring. The asphalt mastic flooring is a mixture of sand and asphalt in a ratio of 2:1, which is mixed hot and laid in continuous sheets. Now, it can be applied cold or by mixing with mineral oils and asbestos. The thickness of the mix may be 2.5 centimeter for ordinary constructions. In this case, a cement concrete base is prepared, followed by the asphalt mastic mix, which is laid on top of this base course and spread using a trowel. Now, a thin layer of sand is then spread on top of it and rubbed with a trowel, and the joints of the mastic asphalt are laid in successive days and they are properly lapped. In case of the asphaltic tiles, which is the next type of asphalt flooring, this is prepared from asphalt, asbestos fibers and other inert materials and mineral pigments. This is available in various sizes and are generally square in shape, 3 to 6 mm in thickness. Very cheap, resilient, soundproof, non-absorbent and moisture-proof material. Here, a concrete or wooden base can be prepared and an intervening layer which acts as an adhesive layer is formed. It is usually made up of mastic asphalt or asphalt saturated felt. This is laid on top of the base layer, and finally, the asphaltic tiles are laid on top of this intervening layer. The asphaltic mosaic is preserved very similar to the mastic asphalt, except marble chips are used instead of the sand or grit. So, the appearance will be slightly more decorative in this case. The acid proof mastic flooring are blocks which are manufactured from molding acid proof asphalt and inert crushed rock aggregate, and high pressure is used to consolidate this material. A concrete or wooden base layer is prepared, on top of which the asphaltic blocks are laid on the concrete base, and acid proof asphalt is spread uniformly. Fine sand is then of course used to top off this layer over the liquid asphalt before it hardens. Rubber flooring can also be used. This is usually prepared with sheets or tiles of rubber, and it is available in various patterns and colors and can vary in thickness from 3 to 10 mm. Now, the sheets or tiles are manufactured by mixing pure rubber with fillers such as cotton fiber, granulated cork or asbestos fiber. Now, this is commonly used in office or public buildings and have a higher cost in comparison to the other floor finishes, which is why not a very popular choice for residential buildings. They are also very resilient and noise proof in nature. A concrete or wooden base layer is topped off with sheets or tiles which are fixed on this with the help of appropriate adhesives. Linoleum flooring is another traditional choice, which is used in the form of rolls and spread directly on concrete or wooden floorings. It is manufactured by mixing oxidized linseed oil in gum, resins, pigments, wood flour, cork dust and other filler materials are used. They are either printed or plain, and they are available in thickness from 2 to 4 mm, so very thin in cross section. They can be 2 to 4 meters wide. They are cheap, durable and resilient and can be cleaned easily and provide a very attractive appearance because they are available in even printed versions. Subject to rotting if exposed to moisture over a long period of time. As a result, we do not want to opt for this in case of bathrooms or kitchen or utility areas. Here the base layer is topped off with the linoleum sheet, which is glued to the base with appropriate adhesive layer. So, in this case as well we require a very good adhesive. Is a very noiseless type of flooring. It is commonly used in libraries, theatres, art galleries or broadcastings or recording studios, etc. Here the cork is used in the outer bark of cork oak tree. It is available in the form of cork carpets or cork tiles. It is manufactured by heating granules of cork with linseed oil and compressing it to form these sheets or tiles. They are available in various sizes, 10 cross 10 cross 30 or 30 cross 90, and a thickness can go up to about 5 to 15 millimeters. Here also we will require some appropriate adhesive layer to fix the cork sheet or tile on top of the base layer, which can be concrete or wooden floor. Next, we have glass flooring, which is also a very aesthetically pleasing choice. This is a special type of flooring where we probably use it if you want to have the option of transmitting light from the upper floor to the lower floor, especially if we are dealing with basements and we want to create a flooring on top of it which allows the light from the above floor to infiltrate the lower spaces. This can also be very much applicable in malls or other commercial properties. The structural glass is available in the form of tiles or slabs, and the thickness can vary from 12 to 30 mm. But whatever type of glass and thickness we are selecting, it should be such that it does not crack easily under foot traffic. This type of flooring is actually very costly and we do not use it commonly. It is for special purposes only. Here, first of all, closely spaced frames are prepared. Depending upon the anticipated load on the glass. So, if we have a lot of load coming in, we might want to create these frames very closely spaced. If the amount of load of foot traffic is less or less furniture will be moved or the load on top is not that much, we can go for a more widely spaced frame. The glass tiles or slabs are then fixed within these spaced frames. Depending upon the type of glass tile or slab we have selected, the fixing mechanism will vary. Another type of flooring finish which is picking up popularity in low cost constructions today is plastic or PVC flooring. This is made up of plastic material. It is fabricated in the form of tiles in different colors and sizes, and it is widely used for residential and non-residential buildings. Now, this flooring finish is costly in the sense, in some cases if you are going for very decorative finishes, it may cost us a lot, but if we are going for cheaper options, that is also available for low cost residential constructions. However, this is slippery in nature and it can get damaged easily if it is exposed to burning objects. So, if it is a space like kitchen, we definitely do not want to opt for this type of flooring finish. Here a concrete base is prepared and the tiles are laid on top of it. An adhesive of a specified make is applied to the base as well as the back of the PVC tile with the help of a notched trowel. The tile is then laid with the help of an adhesive. Sufficiently we have to dry it over time. With the help of a wooden roller, we fix it and level it. The adhesive oozes out and then that is cleaned off, and the floor is then washed with warm soap before we start using it. A laminate flooring is a synthetic type of floor covering which consists of 3 layers. The first layer is the particle board wood base. Then we have an image layer which has a certain pattern, that is what the final look of the flooring will be. And then we have a transparent layer which is basically like a finishing on top of the printed image layer. It is used in the kitchen, living floor, bedrooms, hallways and other areas that are not subjected to excessive moisture. This type of flooring has certain advantages and disadvantages. It is very economical and has easy maintenance. It is easy to clean. It resists scratches and it is easy to install even above existing flooring. So, if you want to do a camouflage cosmetic change on top of an existing type of flooring, we may opt for this. The problem with this is it is ruined by water over long period. The boards may also get chipped, that is the particle board base that we have used, that can get chipped. It is not suitable for all types of rooms, and it can be damaged if we constantly do wet mopping. So, this can only be dry cleaned, it cannot be mopped over time. So, those were the various types of floorings that we can opt for, different types of finishes. Before we end today's lecture, let us take a quick recap. So, the most commonly used materials for floor finish include mud and muram, bricks, in different patterns we can use it, flagstones, concrete, terrazzo and mosaic, tiles. Of course, we have various types of options in tiles as well. Marble flooring is a more expensive option. Granulithic finish. We have wood or timber finish, which is very much applicable in hilly areas or places which are very cold. We can have asphalt, that too has certain subtypes. Rubber, linoleum or cork can also be used, among which cork is really good noiseless option if we are using it in recording studios or auditoriums or libraries. Glass is a special type of flooring which we can use in case we want light to enter the floor below it. Plastic or PVC and laminate finishes can also be opted. Laminate is especially useful if we are going for a cosmetic finish over an existing flooring as well. So, those were the different types of floorings. These are some of the references for further study. Thank you for tuning in. We are actually studying a new module. We are dealing with floors. We have studied about ground floors, and in the next lecture we are going to take a look at upper floors. Thank you so much. See you soon.